A Mississippi residential purchase agreement is a document that provides a detailed roadmap for the purchase or sale of a home. A legally binding contract once signed by the buyer and seller, it outlines the agreed upon purchase price, financing, expiration date, and the rights and responsibilities of both parties. In this video, we'll cover how a residential purchase agreement works, the legal requirements in Mississippi, and what you'll need to create one. eForms, the biggest online database for legal documents. Stick around and we'll tell you where you can find an official residential purchase agreement specific to Mississippi. First, let's review how does a residential purchase agreement exactly work. When an individual is interested in purchasing a home, they make an official offer to the seller with a residential purchase agreement. It states how much the buyer is willing to pay for it, how they will afford it, and any contingencies that must be fulfilled for the contract to remain valid. It may take some negotiation between the buyer and the seller to agree on all parts of the contract. Once an agreement is met, both parties sign the document, making it legally bound. This means that the agreement can only be terminated if both parties agree to it, or if a contractual contingency or legal requirement is not met. So, what are the legal requirements in Mississippi? In Mississippi, the seller is required to fill out a disclosure form reporting on the property's utilities and condition. If an offer has already been made before the disclosure is provided, the buyer has 3 days to terminate the offer, or 5 days if the disclosure is received by mail. In addition, federal law requires that for any residential buildings built before 1978, the seller must disclose the property's history of lead-based paint exposure. Now that we know more about how a residential purchase agreement works and what is legally required, here are some things you should do to make sure the process goes smoothly. Include a mortgage pre-approval letter. A mortgage pre-approval letter is a document from the bank estimating how much it is willing to lend to the buyer based on their credit history, income, debts, and assets. This helps the seller determine whether the buyer is financially credible. Offer an earnest money deposit. An earnest money deposit is a percentage of the offer and provided to the seller as a show of good faith. It is written into the residential purchase agreement and typically delivered when the agreement is signed. Use an addendum to modify or add to the agreement. An addendum is often included with a residential purchase agreement to add to or amend any terms and conditions. It can also detail a contingency which allows either party to opt out of the contract if certain terms are not met. If you're in need of an official Mississippi residential purchase agreement, you can get started by clicking the link right here. Hit that subscribe button as well for more videos that help simplify the legal process for everything ranging from buying or selling a house to making a will.